And certainly I want to acknowledge, we do have a busy agenda and what the amount of volume that we've asked the staff to do. But I don't want to dismiss the importance of the idea of school funding for school construction. While this issue has been going on for decades, this is something I believe in the near future we ought to address. And I would just like to bring up at the next meeting and see if we can get a consensus on maybe a method, because while the clock isn't really ticking on addressing this issue, what the clock is ticking on would be gaining a consensus on the mechanism and the way we would address it, because that would have to be done through action in the General Assembly. And when they go to recess on June 30th, we may lose our window till January of next year, stalling us if we want to make any efforts. So, certainly during the budget process, I think it would be appropriate to see if we can gain any consensus on not deciding if it's appropriate, but if it was appropriate, what method we would use, and if we think it's appropriate to ask members of the General Assembly to move forward with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a couple in response? I just want to point out, Councilwoman Grunenbaum and Administrator Lawson and I were at the 5 Points Working Group meeting last night with DelDOT over in Lewis. And I just want to remind the public that there is a transportation improvement district either in place or being formed in the Milton area to address some of those concerns, because there definitely are concerns as that community is in a fast-paced growth. Second point on the school funding, my concern with that is more of maybe a precedent-setting issue where it's a new and novel approach for the state to request and authorize the county to now be involved with the process of raising funds to fund schools. We have always acted as a pass-through only. We collect the property tax, we pass it through, but we don't authorize it. We don't set the rates. We don't really. It's not our authority that generates that revenue. This new and novel approach would be now a first step in shifting the burden of funding for schools down to the counties, where it really rightfully should be the prerogative of the schools and of the state. And that's my biggest single concern, is the precedent-setting aspect of that.
Thank you. Ms. Grunenbaum.
Yeah, I have a few comments. First of all, I want to start with an apology for being late, but I'm still learning how to navigate the roads. And there's a lot of construction. I apologize. I would like to echo my colleague, Ms. McCarron's comments about school funding. I respect and understand Mr. Riley's comments as well. However, if we are looking at a precedent-setting move, I think that's not in and of itself a reason not to move forward. We'd have to start to look at doing some things differently in order to achieve our objective. The objective is to secure sufficient funds for our schools to be able to function well. And we do have to investigate and look at, and we can debate the wisdom of, but investigate and look at different methods for funding schools. And finally, I do want to acknowledge that that the road situation in Mr. McCarron's district, in Mr. Lloyd's district, in all of our districts is challenging, is very, very challenging. And so it's something we do have to address as we look at further development. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I'll make a comment in light of some of that stuff. To date and on the campaign, what I had envisioned as it related to school funding was it to be used, if possible, as a sort of disincentive to discourage. So it's not to say that people couldn't necessarily build out in, we'll say, level 4 areas, but that, maybe it was just going to cost some extra and it would be to the benefit of our schools. The logic that that resonates with me to date, and I am no expert on the school situation by any means, but as it relates to the county council, there's roughly 200,000 parcels in the county, and to date, all those parcels have been paying into the school system to pay both operating and capital expenditures via referendums. So It seems sound to me that for the sake of building new schools only, not operating, but for the sake of building new schools, that some of that burden, just similar to how Kent County does it, would be on the new folks that are moving here, since it's going to be their children that are going to be occupying those new school spaces. And so with that logic, I don't see any, I don't know if it's really precedence breaking if Kent County's already doing a version of it, some kind of funding mechanism. So I'm interested in entertaining the idea, whether it's duplicating what Kent does, and I'm not sure exactly how that looks, Mr. Lawson, if you had any idea. I think Steve's comments were there's a time constraint since the budget's coming up, getting the General Assembly to make some move that allows us to explore that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is a two-step process. First is, with Mr. McCarron's comments, is there concurrence among three of you or more that there is a mechanism that we would like to explore for school funding? And if that is true, and if the mechanism that you want to explore requires changes in Delaware code, then we'd have to go to the General Assembly. If we're seeking General Assembly efforts at this point, the window's closing rapidly. They don't like to see introduction of legislation as we get closer to the end of the session. They kind of have a pipeline of work that they want to do, including their own budget. So we would have to take that two-step process pretty soon to determine if we can get it done in this session. Now, if there's no General Assembly needs, i.e. no Delaware code needs, changes, then we can work here in Georgetown and not be on the same clock of the General Assembly.
I can I make one additional comment and I'd like to remind the council that when the state of Delaware imposed a 4% transfer tax, my understanding at the time is that it was presented as an impact fee, that the resulting funds that were generated would be utilized for road construction, for school construction, things of that nature. And it would be assessed on primarily the people that are moving here with new homes being constructed. And it is a significant amount of money. 4% is the highest in the entire country. And on a $500,000 home, $20,000 is, worth talking about. That's a lot of money. So, I think it's a slippery slope when the state begins to push their responsibility down on the counties to provide funding for various things. And we have other issues we'll tackle soon that could fall in that same category.
I didn't really want to, we could.
You don't want to debate it, right?
I didn't want to debate it here. What I wanted to do was A, warn everybody, or that way collect your thoughts. Right. But two, my main point is if we're going to do something and we have to gain consensus, what I'm hearing is there possibly might be consensus. What avenue would we want to explore? Because there is the VSA method. I don't agree with it. There's the Kent County model, which I do like. What does the county council as a whole like? And if we need legislation, which Kent County is codified, we need to work on that. That doesn't mean we address it that day. What that means is if we were to do something, this is the method we would
gain
want.
Authorization.
We need to gain authorization. Then maybe, later on, once we start tackling some of these other, once we start nailing down, I don't want to rush anything else for this. What I want to make sure is that once we get to this in the near future, that we have the ability to do it. And that was my main intent. Even if you don't agree with it, which way would you want it to be done?
The Kent County version being a fee.
They have a flat fee.
A flat fee as opposed to...
They attach it to the building permit.
Right.
As Mr. McCarron said, he mentioned this just to get this on the agenda, get this to everyone's thoughts, because this is not the time to debate it. It is not on the agenda. He brought the issue up so it can be brought up on an agenda at a later time, as he indicated before. So anytime we have something like this, that's not the time to open up the debate on it, but instead to get it queued up in the lineup for.
Just as a point of information, do you or Mr. Lawson know if we would require legislative action if we chose the Kent County approach? We would. Yes. We would. Okay. Thank you. If we chose that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.